Shout out to Boogie Bentley, Dauber, and the Indie Kid over at the Talkin VAWLS Network on YouTube. I also want to ask y'all to go smash that like button and subscribe to their channel on YouTube. Go Big Orange.
Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6 sense for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chains. Can't control me. I got the power, I got the keys, cause I break the chains. They try to hold me, I'ma push back, just wait and you'll see.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
I'm the Indie Kid.
Let me just warn you guys now, I got a new mic set up. If the volume doesn't match, if I'm way louder than the Indie Kid, let me know. We'll try to adjust it as we go on the fly. We'll get things dialed in. Man, I spent a good 30 minutes this morning trying to fix this stupid thing. It is what it is. It's, when you try to upgrade, it always gets worse, right? That seems to be the way things work. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the Music City Bowl. We're going to talk about recruiting, the transfer portal, and everything in between. We've also got some listener questions from the Talkin VAWLS Facebook group. Let's run down the chat. Let's see who's hanging out with us bright and early tonight. Clifton Flynn in the house, dropping those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. Tim Bradley is here. What's up, Tim? How's it going? You're probably at church. What are you doing, Tim? You've got to be at church right now. I know that's where you're at. Justin Sanday in the house. Guys, come on in. John Hill's here. John Hill, member of the channel, says, let's end this recruiting season with a bang. John, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk a little recruiting. I do feel like they have some momentum there. Fallout Zone is in the house. What's up, my friend? Like I said, guys, come on in and hit that thumbs up. Let's get it out of the way bright and early so we can talk a little ball and kind of get into things. Tyler Pollock confirming Mike sounds good. Mike sounds good. Good. I'm glad. Swamp Donkey Sniper, what is up, my friend? All right, let's get into it, Indie Kid. Let's talk a little Music City Bowl. You dropped the instant reaction video. I came back the next day, kind of did a scouting report on Purdue. We'll blend them all together. I know a lot of people weren't excited, but here we are a few days later. What are your thoughts, Music City Bowl, Tennessee and Purdue?
Let's roll. It's a good opportunity to go 8-5 on the season. Sounds like Purdue, sounds like their Biletnikoff finalist or semifinalist is opting out. I've seen rumors about a quarterback opting out, possibly another player opting out. Home field advantage for Tennessee playing in Nashville. I'm fully expecting 8-5. I know some in my videos like, oh, Purdue will be ready. Well, yeah, Tennessee's going to be ready too. And it's the Big Ten. It's the SEC. I know Purdue's got some good wins. I know they're a good team. I don't see Purdue keeping up with this VAWLS offense.
I want to kind of talk about players opting out. That I was going to kind of, I don't know. I had a couple of questions I forgot to post in the group until late. And one of the questions was John Bryant saying, what is your opinion on players opting out of bowl games? And, Alante Taylor opted out. That seems to be due to injury. He's been banged up for a couple of weeks. Cade Mays likely won't go. But I've seen the same thing with Purdue. I've seen that David Bell and George Karlaftis, I think it is, their edge rusher, they're two best players on both sides of the ball. But have you seen any confirmation on that? Because I've just seen rumors. I've not seen anything confirmed.
No, same thing. And I saw possibly about maybe their quarterback may opt out too. But, like you said, it's rumors. I haven't seen anything else.
But what are your thoughts on that? We talk about, the importance of a bowl game and, what it means to these kids, and then they get there and you've got guys that opt out. I'll be honest, it bothers me. It bothers me. And I get it. The goal is to get to the league, right? The goal is to make money, get a paycheck. But how important was it to get to a bowl game if you're not even going to participate? It bothers me.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, from my perspective, I'm not sitting out. But obviously I don't have that money in front of me. But I think if I'm an Alontae Taylor, I think if I'm most of these guys, I can play that bowl game and increase my stock. And maybe I can hurt it as well. I don't know. Maybe it's twofold there, but I understand. I mean, we have seen those devastating injuries in bowl games. I get it. I don't know, man. I just don't. I'm not one that goes in playing worrying about getting injured. I just don't. And in Taylor's case, you mentioned about him being injured. Cade Mays has been hurt. I'm not sure what's been going on. It's been all year, pretty much. But it's one thing if you're injured. I think the guy's perfectly healthy. You put in all that work for the year. All of them, when they leave or whatever, they want to talk about it being their brothers.
Yep.
I mean, if it's my brothers and I'm healthy, I'm going to battle with my brothers.
One last time, man. One last hurrah. And again, we put so much emphasis on how important it is, but then we get here and it's like, And like you said, going along the injury train of thought, I get it if you are already banged up. But it's like, what's I don't know. What's one more game, man? I just think Hillbilly Sportsman.
If you're healthy. If guys hurt, I get it.
Right. Hillbilly Sportsman said there in the chat it's a selfish decision. That's the way I see it, if you're healthy. I think it is selfish. It says, I mean more than my team. But I don't know. It's part of it. Let's talk more about the matchup aspect. Purdue against Tennessee. Purdue, man, all they do is sling the rock. They like to throw it. They average over 340, I think it was, 340 passing yards a game, but they don't run the ball. They're one-dimensional. So I'm excited to see what Tim Banks and this defense can put together schematically. And I'm curious if we see a little bit more aggression on defense. Tennessee, a lot of times, seemed like they sat back in the zone, got picked apart doing it. But with Purdue being one-dimensional, man, pin your ears back and let's get after the quarterback.
That's a plus for Tennessee. What was it? Minus. They're in the minus. Their quarterback is rushing for the year.
Yeah, it was like over 100, I think.
Yeah, to me, my eyes light up seeing that, and that's fine if they can throw it. But I'm not that worried about them being able to throw the football, and they may get their yardage on it. What's killed Tennessee time and time again is that quarterback being able to run. I love the matchup. The Big Ten doesn't scare me. Now, if you get into Ohio State or Michigan, possibly, especially Ohio State, but even though Michigan finished ahead of them, I'm still always more scared of Ohio State. I just am. But I like this matchup for Tennessee, especially it being in their backyard. Who knows, man? I mean, Purdue may put some points up as well, but the thing of it is they may surprise me like Kentucky did, but the difference being Kentucky had a mobile quarterback. Purdue does not. That is a big, big advantage. And I'm like you, man. I want to see what Tim Banks dials up. I think that they can make this quarterback have a rough – make him live hard on that day.
And I agree with what you said earlier and kind of touched on there. I don't think Purdue can keep up. I don't think – I don't remember if it was Twitter or somebody in the comments here on our channel basically saying that Purdue would have plenty of time to get ready for Tennessee's speed of play. No, it doesn't work like that. You don't just magically create what Tennessee does with your scout team. It doesn't work that way. I think Tennessee's going to start fast like they have most of the year, and I just don't think Purdue can keep up. Talking about the Big Ten, though, golly, Tennessee has owned the Big Ten, and I don't have anything in front of me. I'm just going by memory. But recent years bowl games, who all from the Big Ten? Iowa. Who else have they dominated?
Was most recent. I mean,
of course, that was a nail biter.
Well, they had a rabbit's foot that night because I still haven't figured out how they won that game. I thought it was over, and then they won it. But
that was a Talkin VAWLS meet and greet at the Tap House, man.
That's right.
Most of the people had packed up and left. There was about 10, 15 of us left in the bar when Tennessee got the win. Who else? Northwestern? Dude, they dominated the Big Ten in bowl games. Yeah, Jeff Harrison says they're Nebraska. Yeah, Northwestern. Now I see you guys in the chat there.
Nebraska? Yeah, that's right. Nebraska was Big Ten when Tennessee beat them in Music City Bowl. That's right. Because I had to think about it because Tennessee played them a couple of times years back. That's when Nebraska was still Big 12 at that point. But, yeah, Iowa, Northwestern, Indiana, Nebraska. That's my most recent recollection because they didn't have a bowl. They didn't play the Big Ten. I guess the most recent before that would have been when Fulmer's last bowl when they beat Wisconsin in the Outback Bowl. And then they were, and then you had Kiffin against Virginia Tech. They were shut out during the Dooley era. And then Jones beat Iowa,
and Northwestern,
and Nebraska.
Those were fun. Those were fun, too. I mean, they were beatdowns, just domination.
Especially Iowa and Northwestern.
Yeah.
Iowa was especially fun because that was the first bowl-eligible game back, and then they just beat the piss out of them. And everybody talked about Iowa had at least one tackle that got drafted early, if not a couple. Talk about, Tennessee can't match up physically. That's the same thing some people said in my call. Purdue's more physical than Tennessee. Yeah, we're going to find out. Big Ten doesn't scare me.
No,
it's like disrespect to them. It's a Power 5 conference. It's a good conference. Tennessee's played teams better than Purdue.
Well, you mentioned Ohio State and Michigan. And, some people would argue the same in the SEC, but after those top couple of teams, the Big Ten just drops way off. Way off. And like I said, some people would say that about the SEC as well, but top to bottom, SEC is just a better conference. Swamp Donkey Sniper puts a $5 bill in the tip jar. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. Doesn't have anything to say, just throws a tip in the tip jar. We appreciate that. Swamp Donkey Sniper, one of my favorite names on the YouTube channel. I think bowl practice starts, on Saturday, I do believe. I think that's right.
It's got to be soon.
And that's something else you got to talk about, getting to a bowl game, and the importance is the extra practices for the young guys. The young guys in particular. You can get a lot of development in those 15 practices in December.
Somebody at corner has an opportunity, whether it's Kamal Haddon or whether it's Brandon Turnage. I'm excited to see that. And personally, I hope Purdue comes full arsenal. I hope they come out with everybody. Because I don't want to hear excuses after Tennessee thumps them. Purdue didn't have this guy. I want them to have David Bell. I want them to have the end. I want to have their quarterback. And so there you go. I want them to thump them with everybody available. And I want to see what a Haddon or a Turnage can do against David Bell. I don't want to see Warren Burrell on David Bell, but I do want to see the other guys going up against them.
Juan Paul, you show up every live show with this trolling crap, and I'm nice to you, and I put you in timeout, then you come back and do it again. I'm going to give you one more warning, my friend, because you're a regular here, but there's no sense in that crap. So I can either give you this warning or I can ban you. I'll let you decide as we move forward. I want to circle the wagons and kind of go back. I meant to do this at the top of the show, and I forgot. We do have almost 200 people watching live. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. We got 85. Let's get it over 100. It helps the channel. We would greatly appreciate it. But we celebrated 10,000 subscribers last week. We're already up to 10,300. We're going to hit 11,000 soon. We're on that fast track to success. But we gave away some free merchandise last week. And right on cue. Look at this, right on cue. The two winners for the free merchandise, both members of the channel, they had to go back and leave a comment. Wayne Starnes and John Hill, who just paid for his free merchandise with a $20 super chat.
John is more. Both guys have been generous. They've both more than paid for their merchandise. So.
Yeah, two members of the channel, both very supportive of the show. I'm pretty sure they watch and comment on every video, whether it's basketball, football, whatever. We appreciate the support. So John Hill and Wayne Starnes, if you have Facebook, if you're in the Facebook group, you can send me a message to my personal account or to the Talkin VAWLS account. If you're not, jump on Twitter, send us a DM there. If you're not on Twitter, leave a comment on this video. After we go off air, leave a comment with your email address. I'll shoot you an email, and then I'll delete your email address out of the comments. We'll get you some free merchandise sent out. But John Hill, for $20, just paid for his free merchandise. So we appreciate that. Since we can get our offense in fifth gear, then we cruising Mad Max style. Let's go Big Orange. I agree. I just don't think Purdue can stop Tennessee's offense. It's like you said, it's very similar to Kentucky without a mobile quarterback, and I like Tim Banks to scheme something up on defense.
Yep, that's where I'm at with it as well. And, it's not – it's fine. Purdue started out is the favorite. That line quickly flipped. And a good football team. Let's make no bones about it. They beat then number 2 Iowa, then number 3 Michigan State. Their losses were against good football teams. But the Big Ten style, I know it's more physical, but we've heard that. Every time Tennessee plays a Big Ten team, we've heard about, that physical style. Speed greater than physical when it comes to football all day long. The teams that are the overwhelming teams that are the best are physical and fast. Purdue's physical, they're not fast. Tennessee runs circles around. I'm disrespecting them along the way, and that's not my intention. They're a good team, but I just think Tennessee's better. That's what it boils down to. I think Tennessee is the better team. It's going to be a home game for Tennessee. Who has more of a point to prove, Purdue or Tennessee? You get to 8 wins, that's a big deal right now.
I think something interesting when looking at Purdue, Tennessee's been consistent all year long. They've been consistent. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They've competed. And they played with just about everybody, whereas Purdue's been so inconsistent, man. They have 2 big-time wins against Iowa and Michigan State. Those are big wins. Both teams ranked in the top 5 at the time of those games. But then just get beat by Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Ohio State. Yeah, they're good teams, but just beat down. And in their losses, they turned the ball over. I don't have my numbers in front of me. It was in the scouting report video that I dropped. But in their losses, they turn the ball over, and they turn it over bad. They lose the turnover margin. So, again, going back to Tim Banks, if it was me, and there's a reason Tim Banks gets paid a lot more money than I do, I would get aggressive, man. I don't think Purdue can stop your offense. Why not get aggressive and try to force some turnovers and just blow them out of the water right out of the gate? Swamp Donkey Sniper with another $1. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. We appreciate it. I got another listener question. I see some people talking about recruiting in the chat. We're going to get into recruiting right now. But we've got a listener question, and I think this is a way we can kind of launch into recruiting, and I thought this was a good question. I think right now, Indy Kid, where's Texas A&M? Second? Are they second in the country in recruiting? Maybe first?
They are. Let me pull it. I'm going to pull up 24/7. So, a lot of you guys, I'm going to kind of take up for you a little bit on something. There's so many different publications out here. And, I've seen the comments. We may say, I know Boogie's on Rivals. I'm on 24/7. They rate guys differently. So one one publication, one classification may have them a guy a 4-star, they may have him a 5-star, the other one may have him a 3. And somebody's always quick to jump in and he's a 4-star on 20. It's what we go by. There's those are the best two rivals in 24/7, but sometimes they differ. So it's dependent on what we read. And I think we're both the same boat. We're not paying for both. Mm-mm. One has one.
And it works out better that you're on 24/7 and I'm on Rivals. I don't know if Dauber's on either one, but
24/7 has Texas A&M number 3 right now.
Jason Cox in the chat says that's where they're at on Rivals too, is number 3. But this is a question from Cody Silvers. He says, "What do y'all think the reasoning is for Texas A&M's recruiting success, and how does Tennessee find a way to match schools like them, Georgia and Bama, in the coming years? NIL, playtime facilities, and etc." Well, for me, I think it starts with money at Texas A&M. It's all about the money, and it's NIL, man. It's changing the game, and I've got an article. I may just pull it up and kind of go through it because it explains NIL for people that don't understand it. But even when you look at Zach Evans, the transfer, former 5-star running back in the class of 2020, it's coming down to Tennessee and Ole Miss, and it sounds like NIL is a big part of it. I mean, would you agree that's why Texas A&M is having success, is money?
Exactly, because I'm going to throw that shot out here that's going to stir. Jimbo Fisher is one of, if not the most overrated coaches in the entire nation. He won a championship with Jameis Winston at Florida State, and then he almost buried that program. That's why Taggart didn't last. That's why Norvell is having trouble now. Jimbo is not. I mean, they were good last year. I think they probably underachieved a bit this year. I know they had some Haynes King was injured, but yeah, it's and listen, man, it is a school with a lot of potential, but NIL is a big deal. There is no doubt in my mind that is why Walter Nolan is picking Texas A&M over Tennessee. It comes down to NIL. Tennessee is struggling in football and basketball. And I'm not sure about with baseball, but definitely with football and basketball with NIL. They're getting smoked on NIL. They've got to figure something out on it.
Well, let's jump into the – I don't know if you've even seen this article. And normally I read articles for videos, but I thought it would be good to bring up on the live stream, especially after I saw that question. But this is from GoVols 24/7. Patrick Brown wrote this article. Says, new partnership aims at maximizing NIL for Tennessee athletes. And any kid, I'm going to kind of go through this. You can stop me if there's a comment you want to make. But it says here, a new partnership will help to maximize name, image, and likeness opportunities for the Tennessee student athletics. It says Spire Sports Group, a marketing and media agency based in Knoxville, has joined forces with Open Doors Sports Technology Company that maximizes endorsement value for athletes to launch a new initiative supporting Tennessee athletes designed to provide a streamlined experience for the athletes to compliantly manage opportunities from start to finish. The partnership, this is where I think it's interesting. The partnership will secure donor commitments to help facilitate NIL deals per a release. It goes on to talk about Spire, led by Tennessee graduates, and they've already been active in NIL market for Tennessee athletes, yada, yada, yada. But the interesting thing, the reason I wanted to share that article, because the interesting thing to me is the money's there. And Swain talked about this on his show. It might have been this morning, basically saying the donors, the big money guys at Tennessee, have already committed the money. The money's there. You don't have to worry about it. So it's all about this agency stepping in and saying, okay, here's the money, here's how we're going to facilitate it. You've got Texas, the University of Texas, coming out in the public and saying, we're going to pay our offensive linemen $50,000 a year. That's a salary. You're getting a salary now to pay college football. But I think that article, I think that's Tennessee taking a step in the right direction for NIL and recruiting.
I mean, if it comes down to it as well, I mean, I've said it before, and obviously I'm not trying to spend someone else's money, but how many times is a certain pilot girl, let's just cut to the chase, pilot, they've influenced many coaching searches negatively, I would even say. And what can they add in for NIL? What can Pilot do? Where Tennessee, I'm not sure how involved the Dish Network guy is. How can they maximize him? I talked about this on one of our basketball shows, Dauber and I did, but last Thursday we went to a Big Orange alumni event here where we're at, here in the CSRA area. And any of you guys that are in the CSRA, Aiken, Augusta, Columbia, anywhere in that, if you're interested, you don't have to be an alum. They do watch party stuff. So if you're interested, message me on either Twitter or Instagram if you're interested. But going back to that, they had a guy from the university come down, give a presentation. I got to sit in on it and see a lot of stuff. It's very interesting. And, of course, there's still pledges. There's pledges for so many different things. They're upgrading the entire campus. They're upgrading Neyland Stadium. I did find it funny. There was nothing about NIL in there. Of course, that doesn't apply to an alumni group. But still, yet, money is coming in for different things with all this construction that's going on as well. So there has to be that money for NIL. Where can Tennessee maximize that? Because, the football side of things have come up here and there. Basketball, they have gotten destroyed on it. And Rick Barnes, he can make his excuses all he wants. He's gotten his ass smoked on NIL. And so that's a step in the right direction. Where do they go from there, though? There's got to be another step in addition to that. We've heard guys with local businesses and such, but where can they also, you mentioned Texas, 50,000 offensive linemen. We've seen Bryce Young at Bama making right at $1 million, if not more than that. What else can they do for that? What can local businesses do? I mean, but it's a tough time too because you got the pandemic. Businesses have lost money. So what else can they do to maximize that? It's an interesting question, but I feel Tennessee and a university that big is lagging on NIL.
B Hunter in the chat there asking how much these guys are making. Like you said, Young I think he's making seven. There are several guys in college football making seven figures. But I mean,
there's Miami. It's mentioned Dan Lambert, American Top Team, paid like every player from Miami $5,000 this year.
Yeah.
So that's money they didn't have in their pockets prior to him paying that.
I don't know, man. It's changing the game of college football. And Swain again was talking about it this morning, talking about Zach Evans, and it's like when you talk about a kid and you don't know where they come from, how they grew up, how they were raised, do they need money? If you're talking about a kid that needs money, they're not looking long term. They're not looking how can I make it another 4 years? They're saying, okay, give me 100 G's, and I'm set. They're looking short term, not long term. I just don't know that it's a good thing for college football across the board.
It's basically semi-pro.
Yeah, and then you add in the transfer portal. That's free agency. It's basically the NFL. It's like NFL Junior at this point. Yeah. And you're talking about kids that are 18, 19 years old. And I saw somebody in the chat asking about, can you use it in recruiting? And I don't think you're supposed to. I don't know. I don't think you can pay a recruit, but I think you can lay it out on the table and say, hey, here's the opportunities that you'll have at our school. I don't know the exact rules.
There's got to be some kind of pitch with it because, and I know we're doing football, but I'm going back to basketball with it because Rick Barnes specifically referenced, he said these kids need to, make sure who's telling them the right thing and whatnot. So it's being used. I'm not sure if it's I don't know if it's a for certain amount, but somehow teams are using it to their advantage. And I don't know if on these visits they're bringing in these people that are laying it out for them. But, I would think, and hopefully these adults who are with these kids are not buying into the stuff as well. But if a school is just telling you, hey, you're going to make this much off of this person, this business, and so on, if these adults and kids are believing it without speaking to them, then, that's one thing. But if these businesses, these business guys come in and are laying it out and putting it right in front of them, then that's another thing. So I would be really curious to hear about the pitches and how that goes, because I think there's a real fine line in between certainty of money and just potential of it.
Well, and you mentioned Walter Nolan by name. There's a reason he's going to Texas A&M. It's money. It's it. You can play for the best defensive line coach in the country, or you can travel halfway across the country and play for Texas A&M for money. That's it. It's money. Caleb Bray for 5.
It goes back to, sorry, but
go ahead.
It goes back to Texas A&M's rolling all these 5-star guys in, and your ESPNs and stuff continue to sing the praises of Jimbo Fisher. He's overrated. He is freaking overrated.
How many top 5 classes? How many top 5 classes he put together over the last few years? And underachieved.
He's a good recruiter. Exactly.
Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's the same way. You can recruit, but you underperform with those recruits. I saw a guy on Facebook, buddy of mine from high school. God bless him. He's a Georgia fan, and talking about why Kirby Smart deserved to be the coach of the year over Josh Heupel. And I don't really have a strong stance on that. I don't have a strong stance of a guy like Josh Heupel winning 7 games when he was expected to do nothing versus a guy like Kirby Smart running the table in the regular season. I don't really have a strong stance. But when you're talking about how great of a coach Kirby Smart is, flip the script. Give Josh Heupel that Georgia roster and give Kirby Smart the Tennessee roster. What do you think's going to happen? Kirby Smart is going to get run out of the stadium, and I know recruiting's part of it. It is. It's part of college football. It's part of being a coach. But Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher both underachievers. I agree.
Well, Kirby Smart, too. He's got the Jeremy Pruitt syndrome. He doesn't know how to manage quarterbacks. I don't think – I got a pretty strong – I think Bennett is a good quarterback. I think he's decent. That's the difference between Pruitt. Pruitt continued to trot out a guy who couldn't – Bennett's decent. He's going to beat the competition he should beat. JT Daniels is night and day better. You're setting your better quarterback on the bench, the guy who can get you over the top.
Because he's scared to death.
That's the difference.
He's scared to death. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. It's something else they were talking about on Swain today that I thought it was so funny. And guys, I see the super chats. We'll get into them here in just a second, but I'm just kind of letting the conversation flow. When you look at the college football playoff, he's going to roll Stetson Bennett out there. And Stetson Bennett's going to cost him a game, and Georgia's going to lose, whether that be to Michigan or Alabama, one or the other. And that fan base is going to be livid. They are going to be irate because that's what Kirby Smart does. He screws up the quarterback position, he underachieves, and the Georgia fans get pissed.
He let Justin Fields get gone. And Fromm, the thing with Jake Fromm, he was really good his freshman year, and he never got better. If anything, he regressed. Yet Justin Fields was a top 10 pick. Who the Carolina Panthers, if I'm them, I'm not happy right now that I traded for Sam Darnold instead of taking Justin Fields this past year, who would have been a perfect fit for their offense. But, yeah, Smart has not been smart with his quarterback decisions. Jacob Eason, Jacob Eason was better than Jake Fromm. And then you had, and again, Fromm was good. I would have taken Fromm, but he's mismanaged it since he's been there. He's doing it again this year, and it's going to prevent this probably the best defense they're ever going to have. And there is a ton of talent there. It's only going to continue to be there, but as long as he mismanages that quarterback position, we're going to continue to say 1980.
Let's there's some good super chats that we'll come back to, but because we're talking about Georgia and why not? Why not talk about whatever we want to talk about? Let's just talk about college football in general. Let's talk about this college football playoff. We're all pulling for Michigan, right?
No,
there's no
Cincinnati.
You think Cincinnati has a chance, though? I mean, obviously,
No.
I'm pulling for Cincinnati to beat Alabama. It's just it ain't gonna happen. So I think we're all gonna unite with Coach Harbaugh and say go Wolverines, right?
This is one of those you mentioned when you bet the mortgage. I'm betting the mortgage. It's Alabama versus Georgia. If I were a bettor. And I could afford to bet the mortgage, yeah.
But the real question is, okay, well, number one, who wins that rematch between Alabama and Georgia? And number two, my problem with the college football playoff, and I guess the idea is you want to get the two best teams in college football playing, right? You want to get the two best teams playing for the national championship. And it's kind of like, to me, what makes college football or has always made it better than the NFL is the regular season has always mattered. And you can talk about expanding to 8 teams. You can talk about expanding to 16 teams. When you've got a team like Georgia that doesn't even win their conference championship, having an opportunity to win a national championship, does that leave a sour taste in your mouth? Or are you okay with it because you end up with the two best teams in college football playing against each other?
We've already experienced it. I mean, Alabama couple years ago didn't even play for the SEC championship, yet they won the national championship.
Yep.
As long as there's a 4-team playoff, I think it needs to be conference championship winners, and that negates Notre Dame from it. If Notre Dame continues to want to be independent, they're out. They have no leg to stand on with it. And I really think if Notre Dame were in the ACC this year, Georgia would have been out. If Notre Dame would have had their record against, I mean, they basically play an ACC schedule, but why don't they just commit to it? They're committed to it in basically every sport except for football, and there may be others, but I really think if Notre Dame would have been the ACC and went through their schedule, won the ACC championship, they would have been in opposed to Georgia. So, yeah, I have a problem with it. I think it's a joke. I mean, if you expand to 12, 16 teams, sure, you're definitely going to get teams in who are not conference champions. But in a 14 playoff, it is a freaking joke if you get in and did not win your conference.
I would be okay with them even expanding it to 8, but saying that you have to win your conference championship to get in, or putting some type of stipulation at large, a couple of at large or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're going to have some at large if that's the case. So, I mean, if you go to 8, you're going to have Bama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Baylor, Utah. I think Utah's got to go in, and Pitt. That's your 8. And your 2 at large in that case are Georgia and Notre Dame because they're not conference affiliated. Otherwise, Ohio State's out, Ole Miss is out, Oklahoma State's out, Michigan State's out. Utah and Pitt gets it because if you go to 8, your Power 5 conference champions have got to get that automatic. No. And Cincinnati is not Power 5. They're going to be, but that puts them all in. I think 12 personally is the right number because you can kind of have a couple play-ins and then you get it down to it. If you want to go 16, whatever, I think 16. But here's the problem. If you go to 12 or 16, you're going to have to get rid of some of these useless bowl games. The John's weed catching Colonial Heights Bowl or whatever.
Maybe we can create the Talkin VAWLS Bowl. Like
there we go.
Colonial Heights Middle School.
Yep, we'll have it down at Westridge High School. They got that new turf field down there. So the Talkin VAWLS Bowl, we'll pay $100. Plus,
sounds good to
maybe
me,
we
man.
can get a tab down at the tap room.
That sounds.
Players.
Now I'm getting excited, man. That's their bonus for making a bowl game. They get a gift card to the tap house, free appearance on the Talkin VAWLS. A gift card to Radio Shack, probably the only store still open in the Fort Henry Mall.
No, a gift card to La Coretta.
Oh,
there we go.
Number 11 and a sweet tea, brother. Gosh, all right. Let me go back. That was a fun conversation. We got almost 300 people watching live, guys. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. You know, last time we laughed after we went off air because we had so many people watching and minimal thumbs up. And then the second we mentioned free merchandise, the thumbs up skyrocketed. So clearly you guys are watching. Clearly you have a Google account. You're signed in. If you like what we do, hit that thumbs up. The more support you give, the bigger the channel gets, the more content we put out. I'm ready to quit my job, Indie Kid. I'm ready to just freaking quit and pump out more Talkin VAWLS content. Let me tell you, we're growing. We are growing. And we see you, we appreciate you, and the way you financially support this channel, mind-blowing. We appreciate it. Onward and upward.
I wish we could have – it'd be awesome if somehow we could throw the clip from I know plenty of these jokers on here watch Jackass, but when Party Boy, they'd be acting serious, would bust out of the trunk, looking around. That's like when you say hit the thumbs up and get a T-shirt. It's the same reaction. It's jump out of the trunk, looking around. We're ready for a free T-shirt.
This is the new one right here.
Oh yeah, we've already used that one this week. We've used it on both shows actually.
Dude, I was laughing when I put together that intro for basketball. I was like, I'm making just a little clip of that. We're going to use that regularly. All right, let me get caught up on Super Chats.
Yeah, I was gonna say that new basketball intro is whack. It's big time.
I love it, man.
We were
love it,
man. We kind of Dauber and I, neither one watched it prior to the first time, and then we.
Oh, really?
We were ready to run through a brick wall when it started. Yeah.
I love, man. It took me a couple of hours, but I loved it once I got it put together. All right, let's get caught up on Super Chats here. We appreciate you guys donating to the channel. Caleb Bray for $5. Thank you for the Super Chat. It's kind of pathetic that kids are committing to universities based off money now and not culture, traditions, and relationships like the old days. I agree, Caleb. And, you know, like we said, college football is changing. And not only that, but the transfer portal. You know, you got guys that in the old days, they would have been happy to be the backup quarterback at the University of Tennessee, but not anymore. Now they're entitled. They hit the transfer portal and they end up places like Georgia Tech, and they're gonna be embarrassed. Everybody's gonna talk about how they're the next Peyton Manning, and they're gonna transfer somewhere like Georgia Tech and get embarrassed. But that's the new college football. John Hill with another $5, continuing to pay for his free T-shirt. We appreciate it, John. Maybe if we could, we would have used Chick-fil-A bags instead of McDonald's bags. Maybe we would have gotten better players. I would have committed for a Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A, man. You cannot beat a Chick-fil-A sandwich with a little bit of mayo, a little bit of ketchup, and some waffle fries. Man, I love Chick-fil-A. Although Fulkerson's got the best NIL deal because you can't beat Pals. You cannot beat a big pal with cheese and bacon, large fry. That's the go-to at Pals. Chatsworth 1979, thank you for $5. If UGA beats Bama and wins, in quotations, the playoffs, seriously, should they be considered national champs? How could that be when they didn't win the SEC? I don't know if he did that before or after the rant we just went on, or maybe during. But I agree. I think you should have to win your conference. But it's like I said, it's what used to make college football special. Every game mattered, whereas now it's more like the NFL. It's like just get hot at the right time. It's like, and to play devil's advocate, clearly I like the NHL. I got Preds players over here over the back of my shoulder. There's nothing like playoff hockey. It's kind of like March Madness for college basketball. There's nothing like March Madness, but it kind of takes away from the regular season, right? You don't have to watch every Preds game. You don't have to watch every college basketball game. But when the playoffs roll around, when March Madness rolls around, man, it's on. Calvin Corum loves waffle fries. Jason Cox putting his pals order in the chat. Chili cheeseburger, no onions, and a peachy tea. Ah, man, chili cheeseburger's good too. You're not wrong
Never
there.
had one.
Not wrong there.
No, I'm big pal or big chicken or hot dogs. Ew. Of course, now pals is normally I'll get around to getting cheddar rounds. A biscuit and cheddar rounds is normally what I'll get because every time I'm in town is for a meal, so we'll pick up some breakfast.
Yeah, I saw your wife posted on Instagram that it's a pals tradition on the way out of town. Is that what you guys do before you hit the road?
Yeah, Irwin. Yeah, right before we hit the mountain, there's Pals and Irwin. So, yep, it's pretty much every time Pals and Dunkin' Donuts.
Eric S. Jones talking about free merchandise. Yeah, we gave it out earlier. The winners were John Hill and Wayne Starnes. We'll continue to give away free merchandise. That's what we do right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network. Kid, we're 45 minutes in. We not even got to the main event yet. We'll just go all night long. We got almost 300 of our closest friends watching. They're throwing super chats at us. We'll give them a little bonus content as long as they keep throwing money in the tip jar. I wanted to talk about recruiting. You know, that's why the NIL question was brought up about Texas A&M. It's been a big recruiting weekend for the Vols. They had a handful of guys on campus, got a couple of commitments this week. I don't know if you follow Jordan Thomas on Twitter. That he's doing the Lord's work. 3-star safety out of Alabama. That guy, anybody that is interested or visiting Tennessee, that dude is all over him. He is, next to Taven Jackson, man, he is recruiting as far as players. But also Desmond Williams, JUCO corner out of Mississippi. And he also, he just got bumped. Now the number one ranked JUCO corner. And that brings up a good point, too, when we, talking about stargazers and all that stuff. A lot of guys in this recruiting class have been bumped. Look at a guy like Squirrel White. Nobody was talking about him. 3-star wide receiver. The next thing you know, he's getting offers from Alabama, from Georgia. I think he's taking a visit to Auburn. I think this staff can evaluate talent.
Yeah, it's kind of, Squirrel White, that's one I think who's flown under the radar, and now Georgia's been hard after him. Auburn, from what I'm gathering, I say from what I'm reading, I'm not actually gathering the information, but what I'm reading on it is that Tennessee's feeling pretty good about their chances to hold on to him. Caleb Webb, this was one. I know you did your video about recruiting and mentioned Caleb Webb. Did Rivals bump him as well?
They bumped him right after that video. Either that or I was looking at On3. I don't know if you've used that website. They have a little tab that shows you ESPN 24/7, Rivals. They show all the recruiting. They still had him as a 3-star, but Rivals has him as a 4. I think ESPN is the only one that has him as a 3-star right now.
So, Caleb Webb, all these publications had him as 3. He was committed to East Carolina. He's decommitted now. And now he's been bumped to a 4. I don't know his Rivals ranking, but I know with 24/7 he's in the top 247 now. And I think Tennessee's feeling pretty good about their chances. And the thing about with Caleb Webb versus a Squirrel White, Caleb Webb's about 6'2", in that range, a little taller receiver, probably more of your Cedric Tillman, maybe not quite as tall. Where Squirrel White, this is a guy more of a, what do you think, more of a burner, more of a blazer?
I think Squirrel White would fit perfectly in the slot. Like, I think he would fit in this offense. Great.
And it's interesting because you leeway to your video about C.J. Smith, decommitted from Florida, but from what I'm reading about him, he's not necessarily a take. And I don't know if I'm reading between the lines or what. I think it's if Squirrel does, flip to Georgia or Auburn, maybe C.J. Smith's a fallback option. And I'm not even sure about that, honestly. But, there's been some good talent evaluation. You mentioned Desmond Williams, now the number 1 JUCO corner. That's big for this team. And, we'll see where else they go with it. Caleb, Justin Williams, who was committed to West Virginia, decommitted. I think Rivals and 24/7, if I'm not mistaken, both have him as a 4 now.
Yep.
And maybe it's just 24/7 composite because there's sometimes a difference between the 24/7 rankings versus the composite because they try to compile all of them together. And so that's looking like one they have a good chance with as well. We'll see where they go with Tyree West, with Mba. What happens there because he was supposed to visit Missouri, then Oregon, then obviously Cristobal's going to Miami. Miami was involved earlier. Does he end up taking that visit to Miami? So I think it's going to be a nice finish for Tennessee. And I'll just say, I do not expect Walter Nolan to be involved. Based on everything I am reading, I have no inside info. I just read from experts who do cover it and have that info. I don't think, barring some craziness, Walter Nolan's probably Aggie bound, and he's supposed to be visiting this weekend. But, I still say hats off to this staff because they were not even in it when they took over. They swung for the fences. They made an impression, but, one thing I would say, if you're a Tennessee fan who tweets recruits, who's one of them who gets on Twitter with them, I would say this, and, he may finish and be an Aggie, go to the NFL, but I'm not a fan of trashing a kid on his decision because that kid makes the decision they feel is best for them. Who knows? Maybe he gets down to A&M and it doesn't work out. He doesn't like it and wants to come back to Knoxville. I mean, if I'm a recruit, for some reason, I want to go out of state and a fan base trashes me, I'm not going to be in a real hurry to come back, or I may just say I don't really care, like a Cade Mays, because I know he got a lot of crap for it as well. But, if a guy decides to go somewhere else, if you're one of those on Twitter with it, be an adult. They're kids. Be the adult. Let them make their decision on it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't tweet. I don't tweet players. I don't tweet at recruits, period. Just leave it alone. And sometimes I feel bad enough coming on here. We try to keep it real, man. We try to keep it, give our legitimate opinion. Sometimes I feel bad calling out a player, but it is what it is. We're here to give our honest opinions, but I'm not going to tag a player or a recruit on Twitter. Wade Rouse for 2. Thank you for the super chat. Says, who won the free shirts? A little late today. We announced it earlier. Let me scroll back up here. John Hill and Wayne Starnes won the free merchandise. So sorry, Wade. Try again. No, just kidding. We appreciate the super chat. I saw somebody in the chat earlier.
Carnival, huh?
Somebody in the chat earlier said, I thought Boogie didn't like money. Well, you're wrong. I'm pro-capitalism. I love making money, but it is humbling. I'm appreciative of you guys supporting the channel, but yes, I love making money. I would love nothing more than to quit my job and hang out on here with you guys every single night, do an hour, 2 hours every night live, make 2, 3, 4 videos a day, and pay my bills with it. I love money. Any kid loves money. So does Dauber. We appreciate the support. I'm not here to lie. I love super chats. Makes me happy. Sends me to bed happy after a good live stream. You went through a lot there talking about the recruits. What I wanted to go back and touch on is something that we talked about right before we went live. We said we would just wait and talk about it on air. You talking about C.J. Smith kind of being a wait and see. And it's interesting, man, because when you look at the wide receivers, the guys that they have coming in, and you mentioned a lot of them, Caleb Webb, I feel pretty confident that Caleb Webb is leaning towards Tennessee. So do they finish with Squirrel White, Caleb Webb, Cam Miller, Charles Nimrod? Where does C.J. Smith fit into that? So it's interesting that you bring up maybe they take him if Squirrel White ends up at Georgia or Alabama or Auburn or somewhere different. But good gosh, man, when you look at those names, regardless of if they take 4 of the 5 or all 5, Squirrel White, C.J. Smith, Caleb Webb, Cam Miller, Charles Nimrod, that is some freaking talent. And you've got a quarterback that you hope develops in Taven Jackson. I think you got to hit the portal hard for defense. Again, you mentioned the name Justin Williams at running back, narrowed down his top 2 yesterday, Auburn and Tennessee. Everything I see says he's coming to Tennessee. Everything I see is strong to Tennessee. So they got some weapons, man.
He's officially visiting this weekend. You got to like the chances.
Yeah. But the C.J. Smith thing is interesting to me, and I saw somebody in the chat a little bit earlier saying that Florida's mascot has just decommitted. They're down to like 7 commits or something, man. It's crazy. And the C.J. Smith thing, everything that I understand is Billy Napier comes in and has not contacted guys that are committed to Florida. He's not contacting them. I don't understand. I think it's great. I hope he falls on his face, man. Now is the time. I said it on an earlier live stream. Now is the time to change the momentum. Josh Heupel, that game next year is circled on the calendar. Josh Heupel has got to beat Florida and got to continue to build the momentum against that football team. It's time to turn the tide against Florida, and if they have a trash season in recruiting, that's perfect timing for Tennessee in this rivalry.
The time is now.
Oh, God, didn't we rip up shirts that said that?
Yeah, possibly. No, it's time.
Oh, it's time. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can kind of manipulate the wording a little bit on it. But the time is now for Tennessee. Obviously, you've got a ways to go to catch Georgia and Alabama. But the rest of the conference is catchable right now. And I really think this is a turning point for Tennessee because obviously Oklahoma hired Venables. I don't think they have anything to worry about with Oregon. I know Heupel's been mentioned with Oregon. That it's not happening. Heupel's not going to. I think if anything, it would have been Oklahoma. I think this is where Tennessee I think this is the point. And maybe I'm being optimistic. Maybe I've got my orange tinted glasses on. But they just had a good first season. Best first season in 12 years. And I feel maybe the best first season probably since Fulmer, because I fully expect they're going to be 8-5 at the conclusion of this season when you include the bowl game. But now is the time. I don't think this is a home run hire for Florida. I just don't. Maybe it is, but he's coming in. You can get a lot of indication from a guy when they first come on the job. And I don't know, man. If I'm a Florida fan, I think Florida fans are unhappy already. That's not a good first start. That doesn't mean he won't be successful. You got LSU with Kelly, and maybe Kelly kills it down there. I don't like the fit. We discussed that last week. Alabama's Alabama. Georgia, I don't know, man. I think Kirby Smart's a good coach. He's a great recruiter. I don't think he's a great coach. And that's why I think if you could get talent comparable to him, you can beat him, especially if you got that, that alpha quarterback. Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, I'm not worried about them. I think most of those have decent coaches in place. And the same with the West. Jimbo Fisher doesn't scare me. Kiffin, he's not recruiting that well. Ole Miss. I'm surprised. I thought his recruiting class would be much better than his because he's coached his ass off. Regardless if you agree with how it's happened, he's had a big season with Ole Miss this year. Auburn, they're not impressing me. The time is now for Tennessee to start taking that step back. And not backwards, but back to the upper echelon at the SEC. You're not going to get a better time than now. And, we talk about it time and time again. At what point, do we just say, well, Tennessee's done with? If they can't get through this point in time, we're going to have to question it because some of these other teams are not going to continue to get it wrong time after time. And, really, if you look at Florida over the course of time, the 2 times they've hit home runs were Spurrier and Urban Meyer. They've hit guys who can recruit, but really since Meyer left, they've had average at best coaches, and Tennessee has not been able to take advantage of it because they've crapped the bed with their hires as well. So now the time is now.
We're an hour into this thing. Indy Kid, I'm going to let you be in control. I got one more topic on the agenda. You want to go ahead and get into it, or you want to wrap this thing up? I'm going to let you call the shots.
You got a topic, man. Let's roll.
Let's just keep on rolling. Well, I wanted to talk about the transfer portal a little bit. Didn't have to go too heavy into who's coming in. We can talk about a couple of names, though. I've dropped a couple of videos. Surprisingly, they've been spot on. Sometimes you hit. Sometimes you get lucky. I've dropped a few that didn't hit so well, but dropped a couple that hit well. But what I wanted to talk about is whether or not you're surprised by the lack of guys on Tennessee's current roster hitting the portal. Obviously, we got Tylen Evans, Harrison Bailey, Morbin Joseph. But you got the names that everybody likes to throw out there in the rumor mill. Guys like a Jimmy Holiday, guys like Juwan Mitchell, who people are waiting to hit the portal. Some people want to talk about Jalen Hyatt, which I think I saw that his dad basically come out and said, go ahead and shut that down. So are you surprised by that? Another name that's mentioned, too, is Tyler Barron, and the reason for that is his dad, Patrick Abernathy, stepped down as the director of player development, been with Tennessee for 8 years, kind of part of the support staff for student athletes. He does academic support, community service involvement, Title IX awareness, drug education awareness, and then in addition to that, he has other shared duties, including life skill and mentoring support for all members of the football team. So, Tyler Barron's dad stepping down, that's a hot rumor right now. I've not really seen anybody, you kind of touched on earlier that we listen to certain people. I've not seen anybody on VolQuest. Has anybody on 24/7 other than, people on the board? Has any of their staff said anything about Tyler Barron?
No, I mean, kind of the same thing they addressed that Abernathy left. But that's it. No, they want your mods on there, your guys over the site. And it's same as VolQuest, I'm sure. They don't speculate.
Right.
They don't deal with rumors. We can. That's the thing about it. We can deal with them. These, your rivals, your VolQuest, anybody may write for the Athletic. Athletic may be more inclined to deal with them, but I know for a fact after years of being members of both Rivals and 24/7, they may address it a bit, but, until they have something substantial to go on, and, based on what I gathered, it's nothing more than rumor right now. And I don't see where maybe a Holiday, sure, I could see that one. Apparently it's been rumored before with him. And maybe there was even some legs to that, but I can't see Tyler Barron going. I don't think that one makes sense. And Hyatt's got a real opportunity in front of him next year with Velus Jones and Javante Payton leaving and especially, who knows what happens with Cedric Tillman. I think he's back, but, Cedric Tillman can't do it alone either. Hyatt's got a big opportunity, but he's got to learn how to catch the ball.
And I think they're going to go into the portal for some guys too. I would like to see him go more defensive heavy, but again, you got to see how the recruiting plays out on the defensive line. A guy we didn't even mention when we were talking about the class of 22, Tyree West, supposed to be on campus sometime this week. I don't know if that's today, tomorrow, but supposed to be on campus. That would be a big one, man. If Walter Nolan, I'm with you. I think he's Texas A&M 100%. But if you get a Tyree West in there, and then also talking about the transfer portal, did you watch the video I made on Jared Verse, the Albany transfer? Have you seen anything about that kid?
No, not much.
Dude, he's one of those guys that seems to have come out of nowhere. And once that momentum started, it was offer after offer after offer. And I told you that video I made got demonetized because I showed the highlights, and turns out the Albany played Syracuse, and that was in there. It got flagged, demonetized, whatever. But in that Syracuse game, man, he ran down their starting tailback from behind. You're talking about a defensive lineman, just a freak athlete, and everything seems to be trending in the right direction there. So it'd be interesting to see. Tyree West, man, the fact that, you said it earlier, get these guys on campus and see what happens. But the big guy coming on campus when we talk about the transfer portal as we get ready to wrap things up here, Zach Evans. And I saw somebody in the chat asking earlier, where are you guys at on this kid? And I mentioned his name earlier, 5-star running back, class of 2020. And I made a transfer portal video on him. And I made one on him and Gibbs, the Georgia Tech kid. Is that his name, Gibbs? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he obviously is a no-go at this point. Evans, world-class talent, man. World-class, like, he would come in day one and be the starter. Jabari Small would not have a chance of beating him out. That's my opinion. I saw where Brent Hubbs even said he thought if Zach Evans commits to Tennessee, that's an upgrade over Tyon Evans, a healthy Tyon Evans. That's how much talent Zach Evans has on the field. The things that I kind of mentioned in the portal video I did were his attitude problems in high school, very weird recruitment. But he sounds like I said earlier, Tennessee, Ole Miss. Jeff Lebby leaving Ole Miss to go to Oklahoma. Alex Golis, Jerry Mack meeting with Zach Evans, in-home visit, and then if all things go well, he's going to come to Knoxville this weekend. What do you think? Just overall about Zach Evans, talent-wise, attitude-wise.
I mean, I don't. Did he have any attitude at TCU?
No, I've not heard anything once he got to college, and that's the thing. You got to realize in high school, you're talking about a 17-year-old kid at the time. Sometimes you grow up in college.
Yeah, and a lot of people are quick to. Here's maybe I'm from a different perspective based on my profession, but you can't give up on someone based on a mistake. And I know there's a lot of hypocrite. I'm going to call it. If you're one blasting these kids, you're a hypocrite on it. Give them a chance, man. They're going to make mistakes. That's part of being a human being. That's part of growing up. And they learn the best from making mistakes. And unfortunately, they have to make big mistakes to learn from it sometimes. If you make one at 17 years old, you're not a bad person. You don't know any better. Then maybe the same as a young adult at 18 or 19. I don't know that he had any issues at TCU. Hell yeah, bring him on. Talent. Yeah, I'm going to touch this one as well, dude. And, of course, me and Starnes go back a long way. Yeah, I didn't grow up till I was late in my years either. And
42, 43.
Yeah.
We're still growing up, Andy. We're still growing up.
Every day. Every single day. And I'm just not one that – because I see these attitudes. I see how they evolve. I see how they react. I have a little different perspective on it. Bring him on. And something else to me, you talk about Levy going to Oklahoma. Levy. Kiffin's getting heavily mentioned with Oregon as well. So, I don't know. Let's fuel that. Kiffin's going to Oregon. He is going to Oregon.
I hope so. God, I hope so. It'd be amazing. Get him back out there on the West Coast where he belongs.
From what I gather right now, that's who Tennessee's going to have to chase is Ole Miss. But, yeah, that's a big-time talent coming in. And, I'm not thinking twice about it. That's the same thing where I don't think Tennessee's going to be a factor with Spencer Rattler. That's why I've not just thrown him out as well because of the same thing on that. But I think that's going to be a non-issue. He's going to go somewhere he can play. If Hendon Hooker comes back, he's not playing next year. So, but Zach Evans, man, that could be a big-time commit. And I think there's still going to be more through the portal. There are so many kids, and I say kid, I guess they're men at this. There's so many young men entering the portal.
They're kids. Call them kids. It's fine. They're 18 to 22-year-old kids.
Yeah.
People get mad at me for calling them that. That's what they are.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, they're 18 to 22-year-olds. There are going to be a lot more. Some you don't expect. Some are surprising. I mean, just like you sent the other night, the strangest thing we've seen all year. A starter, Tyon Evans, all of a sudden needs to be close to his kids, and he goes to Louisville, which is the opposite direction. So,
money.
Who knows, man?
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. Look, we're gonna get ready to wrap this thing up. Appreciate you guys hanging out. We still got almost 300 of you hanging out in the chat. We appreciate it. If you've not done so yet, hit that thumbs up on the way out the door. Let me do a quick shill real quick right here. These are the brand new, if you've not seen them yet, the TBA Jam, Talkin VAWLS edition. All you old school gamers that grew up on NBA Jam, this is TBA Jam. Got several different designs, color schemes, all that good stuff. And then we've got the old school merch, the retro Vols, State Pride, all that good stuff. Any and all support is greatly appreciated. We take all the profits. Once we start making any money and turn around and give you guys free merch, that's the way we handle the merch store. But any and all support greatly appreciated. You guys grow the channel. When you wear our merch, it's free advertising for us. So we appreciate it, but also when you share our tweets, when you share the videos, when you guys help blow this thing up. Yeah, Terry Reed talking about Bonfire struggling to keep certain sizes in stock depending on what type of shirt you get. So if they didn't have a 2XL in a t-shirt, they may have it in a hoodie, they may have it in a long sleeve. So make sure you check all the merchandise. It just depends on what they can keep in stock. They sent me an email a couple of weeks ago talking about that, but anyway, yeah, Michael saying he appreciates Boogie and the Indy Kid. Dauber, I don't even know where Dauber was. He told Indy Kid he wasn't coming, didn't tell me. Love you anyway, Dauber. It's okay. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. I forgive you. Wayne Starn says, Indy Kid's yawning, and that made me laugh out loud.
I was trying to do it during the
the
merchandise, and you pulled it off, and I was right in the middle.
That's all right. That's all right. It just means it's time to wrap it up. But that's going to do it for this one. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Indy Kid basketball Saturday?
That's we said last night, like Dauber's in Atlanta this weekend, and I may possibly be in Athens this weekend. So I'll be able to throw the old number one up to Georgia. So we may be video covering UNC Greensboro. I'll try to find out for sure tonight because something was mentioned today about going to Athens this weekend. And so it being UNC Greensboro, if it were Memphis, I'd probably say no, but it may be a video Saturday. We'll definitely be live next week for USC Upstate, the following Saturday for Memphis. I think this Saturday, good possibility. We'll just kind of cover that video afterward.
Just make sure you're subscribed. You'll know when we go live, when we drop new content, all that good stuff. Also follow us on social media. We always let you guys know there as well. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. He's the Indy Kid. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.